Good morning. Welcome to the Montgomery County Sheriff's Office. I'm Wesley Doolittle. I am the Montgomery County Sheriff. I'm joined here today by Colonel Freeman Martin, who's the Director of the Department of Public Safety, Houston Police Chief Noe Diaz, Harris County Sheriff Ed Gonzalez, Chairman Brad Bailey of the Woodlands Township, and Mike Hawley with the Montgomery County District Attorney's Office. We're here today to talk about bank jugging and what it is and what it means not just this community, but across the state of Texas. Bank jugging is when individuals, criminals, target folks at banks, ATMs, and financial institutions. They follow them away from those places and either rob them or burglarize their vehicles as they leave. They stop at the first place, they go home, they go to the gas station, just go about their day conducting their business. So we're going to talk about what we're going to do about it. We have a couple of videos here that we're going to show you, just to show you how quick this happens and what it means to the folks that are being victimized in our community, just how fast you make one stop and you become a victim. So you'll see how quick these folks conduct their crimes and what law enforcement's actually doing about it. We've partnered not just with the Texas Department of Public Safety, the Harris County Sheriff's Office, Houston Police Department, and those other agencies within Montgomery County and Harris County to address this rising crime. We've identified this happened about 100 times a year in Montgomery County. So shortly after coming into office, we looked toward Sheriff Ed Gonzalez, Chief Noe Diaz, Colonel Freeman Martin to put together a task force to address these crimes, to help our officers here in Montgomery County realize what this crime is and how we proactively address it. So we have another video coming up here. You'll see just kind of how quick it is. Both these instances are undercover operations where you see police officers that are also doing surveillance of banks, looking for these individuals that are preying on our community and not just talking about it, but doing something about it, taking action. It's important to me that we work together to do that, and not just as agencies, but as individuals, our police officers, our deputies, our state troopers, our special agents that are working together to help keep our communities a little bit safer. We're using multiple assets. We're relying on technology. You see drone footage here. We're working with our real-time crime center, working with the Texas Department of Public Safety's Fusion Center, working with the Harris County Sheriff's Office real-time crime centers, all to put together information, identify these criminals, and give them that opportunity to commit that crime where we can address it. Over the last 3 months, we've arrested approximately 21 individuals. I want to talk to you one about Michael Simon, who was actually wearing an ankle monitor at the time of his arrest, was sitting inside of a bank here in Montgomery County, conducting surveillance of people withdrawing money and leaving the bank. It's important that we talk about these situations and educate the public, not just those that are out shopping, doing their things, withdrawing money, but those folks that are working inside these financial institutions to bring awareness to this so they can notify us so we can actually do something about it. So another instance, we had Caldwell and Seymour. Because of our efforts, I believe that this individual who was targeted noticed she was being followed, called 911, had withdrawn a large amount of money from the bank, and realized she was being followed. As she was being followed, she contacted the Montgomery County Sheriff's Office 911. We were able to get police officers, both undercover and marked units, to her and to intercept these guys before they committed this crime. We directed her to a safe place, to a local police department. We were able to make a stop. We found implements of a crime, criminal instruments, and we're also able to get a confession that they were going to burglarize her vehicle when she stopped. So that was one time we were able to proactively prevent a crime from happening. And I think it's important that we continue to educate our folks on that. So I'd like to introduce one of my friends, Colonel Freeman Martin. It's no secret I retired from the Texas Department of Public Safety. The working relationship that we have with them today and these other agencies is incredibly important to me and to our community. So I'm glad to have these guys here today to help us talk about this and bring awareness.
Good morning. First off, I'm honored to be asked to be here this morning, and we're here to talk about jugging. And we've definitely seen an uptick not just in Montgomery County, Harris County, but Austin, Houston, El Paso, Dallas, San Antonio, Corpus Christi, Mesquite, Temple, the Woodlands, and even Cedar Park, Texas, right outside of Austin. Harris County alone has reported 531 jugging incidents since January of '24. The thing with jugging is, you know, it's really hard. There's no statute for jugging until recently. So a lot of these are reported by certain agencies as burglaries of a motor vehicle, or just a simple burglary, or a theft, or sometimes a robbery if a weapon's used, or whatever the case may be. So we don't have a lot of good data, but we have definitely seen an uptick. And Harris County Sheriff's Department, they are the experts at calling it what it is. They identified early on of what criminals were calling jugging, and started labeling their reports where we could track that in Harris County, and really we could really tell the uptick in the problem statewide. So the good news is, what do we do about it? I can tell you that criminals in Harris County, Montgomery County, and when I'm talking about the counties, I'm talking about the police departments too. When you talk about Katy and Fulshire and the Woodlands, I mean, this is happening all over. But what do we do? Well, Sheriff Ed Gonzalez and I go back for decades, back when he was with the Houston Police Department and working these type of crimes. Sheriff Wesley Doolittle and Police Chief Noe Diaz, we go back for decades as Texas Rangers working these exact type of crimes. We're here this morning to talk about the success we've had in a very short period of time in working these cases. Not one agency has the resources and that they need and personnel to address these type of issues, so we always have to prioritize. A few years ago in Montgomery County and Harris County and the surrounding area, it was aggravated robberies. It was takeover robberies. So we put together a task force very similar to what we're doing here today and what we've been doing, and just DPS alone, working on these task forces, we made 290 robbery arrests and disrupted over 200 robbery crews. And we saw 11.8% reduction in robberies in the greater Houston area. That's the kind of success that we have when we combine our resources and technology and our analysts and the Fusion Center to address these issues. So it's game on for juggers. These are the worst of the worst. They prey on citizens going about their everyday life. They go to the bank, they go to the ATM, they withdraw money to go shopping, to go on vacation, or they're small businesses, and they target them, and it's like hunters with a baited field. They follow them away, and then a lot of times what they want to do is, because of the way the laws were with the burglary of a motor vehicle, it's a lesser offense. So they can do many before they get caught, and then when they get caught, they get a slap on the wrist. Well, thanks to the Texas legislature and House Bill 1902, that is now, they're starting off with a state jail felony. Starting off, the very first time they get caught is a state jail felony, regardless of the amount. And I'm not going to step on the toes of the Montgomery County Sheriff's Department, Montgomery County District Attorney's Office. They're going to talk about House Bill 1902. But this is what right looks like. This is the Harris County Sheriff's Department, Montgomery County Sheriff's Department, and Houston PD recognizing a problem, working with the members of the Texas legislature to pass bipartisan bill. This came out of both committees, the House and the Senate, with Republicans and Democrats united. It was unanimous to increase the penalties on jugging, because these are the worst of the worst that we need to take off the street. So we're thankful for that. We're thankful for the legislature. And for those that don't know, we're in Montgomery County right now, and some of these cases that were filed in Montgomery County, I can tell you that these criminals obviously don't know the name Brett Ligon, because the last place you want to get charged with a felony is in Montgomery County, Texas. They will be held accountable, but I don't want to discredit any other district attorney, because it doesn't matter if you're Republican or Democrat, or you're in a big city or a small town. These are the kind of criminals that Republicans, Democrats, that every one of us, the people that are on our juries, the grand juries, these are the people that we want to get off the streets. The good thing about the Department of Public Safety is we don't run calls for service. Houston Police Department, they only have so many resources. They have to respond to 911 calls. Same thing with the Sheriff's Department in Montgomery County and Harris County. We can divert resources. And I can tell you this morning that we will divert resources. We already have, and there's more being diverted. When this law goes into effect September 1st, it is game on. And we've already had a lot of success, but now we have more tools in the toolbox, better prosecution. We're thankful for these prosecutors and the job that they do. And with that, I'm going to pass it over to the real experts behind me. Chief Noe Diaz is next.
Thank you, Colonel. And thank you to our media partners for showing up and reporting this, because this is something that actually happens to everyday citizens. Not every time are these bad guys successful at getting money. A lot of times they just break citizens' windows to get $10, $14, $10, $15 in an envelope. And the criminal mischief aspect of it, of having a broken window to your car when you get out of the grocery store and have to wait 2 or 3 weeks to try to get a window in, it just becomes a hassle for the people that we serve. Oftentimes the victims are elderly, so it becomes a fear for our elderly community who we swear to take care of, right? It's our responsibility to make sure that they're safe. They can't go to the bank, they can't go to Kroger's, they can't go to HEB because they worry about someone following them. So collectively, collaboratively, I know Mayor Whitmire is always talking about collaboration. This is it in real time. We're focused on it. I want to thank our men and women because this is a dangerous job. All these undercover stings, all these undercover events that we do, our auto theft team, our crime suppression team at the Houston Police Department are experts at what they do. So know that this police department, along with our partners at the sheriff's offices, are working every single night, every single day to make sure that the communities that we serve are safe from these kinds of criminals. And don't think this because it happens in Montgomery or Northern Harris County. They travel. They'll go to Katy, they'll go to League City, they'll go to Galveston, Friendswood. It's like a hunting party. That's how I can describe it. And they're very sophisticated, and they use binoculars. I mean, it is surveillance. It's predatory theft. So they are surveilling you when you're going about your daily business, when you're going and picking up your kids at daycare. If you're a mom, you go and drop your kids off at daycare. They open your door, you miss your purse. Right, so those are the kinds of things that are happening in the community. So as police agencies, as departments, we're going to tackle them. We're going to provide resources. I can't thank the partnership with DPS, the Sheriff's Office, both in Harris County, Sheriff Gonzalez and Sheriff Doolittle. They do amazing work. We communicate weekly, so know that our response is going to be tough. The law is going to be a great game changer for us. So we hope to tackle these kinds of criminals and keep them locked up, because I've had the experience of actually listening to the jail calls afterwards, right? And they coordinate. It's a very coordinated crime. It's a very sophisticated crime. They just don't wake up and go look for somebody. It's strategized. It's worked out throughout the week, and then there's teams of it, right? They communicate on different apps and different kinds of cell phones. So it's very, very sophisticated. I said before, they're using binoculars, masks, GPS stuff, so they're very, very sophisticated. So hopefully this crime will change drastically after September 1st. So I appreciate the time. Thank you for the media. Thank you to our media partners for actually showing up and highlighting this, because it's important that we as police departments are focused on the stuff that really matters to the community, which is their safety. So thank you very much. I'm going to pass it on to Sheriff Gonzalez.
Thank you, Chief.
Good morning, everyone. I'm joined this morning by Chief Deputy Diaz, Assistant Chief Nanny, and Major Katrib as well. And on behalf of the Harris County Sheriff's Office, Sheriff Doolittle, we're honored to be here in Montgomery County and with your wonderful agency, so thank you for having us. I think you've heard already about the collaboration, and I think that's important. That doesn't always come easy, but with these leaders here, it's so effortless. And we work on a regular basis. Each leader here, whether it be Colonel Martin with DPS, we work collaboratively on different issues. With Chief Diaz, we're always working together on other initiatives. Sheriff Doolittle, we've worked on traffic safety initiatives as well. So this isn't the first time. This is just how we operate. And it's not only about us, it's about keeping our community safe. Our experience tells us that these crooks cross boundaries all the time. They burn one area, they go to another. They're always rotating around. You heard from Colonel Martin. This happens all across the state, so we have to try to stay ahead of the game. And by working together, we're stronger. And that's what you saw. That's why this was such a successful initiative. And I want to commend all the men and women that put themselves on the line from all these respective agencies. Obviously, putting in a plug for my teammates as well at the Sheriff's Office, Violent Crimes Division, Patrol Response and others that worked on this. These are tough criminals that are out there. They can be dangerous. And I think of Ms. Medina in East Harris County just a few years back. I went to that scene where she was killed during a commission of a jugging. These incidents can sometimes be where just property was damaged, maybe a small amount of cash was taken, as you heard from Chief Diaz. Sometimes it's a business person, but sometimes it could also lead to death. That's why it's so important, and I commend the Texas legislature, Governor Abbott, and all the bipartisan support that was behind us, because the laws needed to be strengthened. We needed more tools in the law, and you're going to hear how that's being done, and that's really going to help us to really amplify our efforts even more now that the laws will be much stronger. But we want to make sure that we send a collective message that we are working together, and we're going to continue to hunt you down. We're going to make sure that you stop preying on people. I know collectively, and I speak personally, it really upsets me to think that these individuals, these offenders, these chronic offenders are out there just hurting people. These are people, we all know, we could all relate, all of us. We all have family members. We go to the bank. It could be just to draw some money for a gift. It could be for an important payment. It could be to help a loved one or a family member. You name it. You name it. This is hard-earned money that people have worked for. And whether they're in age of retirement in their sunset years or just starting out and they're a young student, it's their money. And for people to be out there preying on them, instead of getting a job, instead of doing the right thing and following the law, they're out there committing these crimes. That's inexcusable, and they need to be held accountable. And so law enforcement's doing their part. We know that District Attorney Ligon and his team will make sure they're accountable through the court system, and we're not going to let up. We work very well together. And again, I want to just commend the impressive leadership of Sheriff Doolittle for inviting us here, convening this task force. This is really what it's all about. This is law enforcement at its best. I would put Texas law enforcement in front of anybody else out there. And again, just very proud to be part of this initiative. We're going to hear more information, not only on the legal side of how the law has evolved, but also about the prevention side as well, because this is really a shared responsibility. We need our residents out there to have situational awareness and be alert, because we also, we had one citizen that called in and phoned and say, I'm being followed, this is happening, and we were able to respond quickly and knew what we were up against, because that particular citizen knew or had heard about what's going on. We've been promoting this a lot at the Harris County Sheriff's Office because we've seen it for a long time now. It originated in Harris County, or at least this concept did, but it's not unique to us only. So we're not going to let up. And again, we commend Montgomery County Sheriff's Office. Thank you for being a great partner and collaborator, and that's why we're here, and we'll continue to support you, Sheriff Doolittle, and your entire team. So thank you very much. Next, I'll call on Chairman Bailey with the Woodlands Township.
I'm Brad Bailey, Chairman of the Woodlands Township. We span two counties, Harris County and Montgomery County. Most of it's in Montgomery County, and so we work with law enforcement across county lines. Approximately 130,000 people live in our community, a very fluent community, always voted one of the best places to live in America, the #1 place to live in America, and we take a lot of pride in that. But our township board, many of which are here today, we believe in public safety as our #1 issue. We have invested in public safety. We increased our budget over 28%, putting more cops on the street, but also investing in technology that you saw shown here today. The drones footage that was here, license plate readers, making sure that our law enforcement officers have the tools they need to get the bad guys. But I have to admit, as the only person here, and I'm a little embarrassed to admit it in this room with all the law enforcement people, 5 weeks ago I had no idea what jugging was. Thought it was a college drinking crime. No idea. But I can tell you in all seriousness, they started showing us these videos 5-6 weeks ago, and we were just shocked by it. And as someone, I just believe that this is important that we're doing it, and hats off to Sheriff Doolittle and really taking a leadership role in this, because this is law enforcement's opportunity to educate the public. We have so many people in our community, me included, that you're just caught up in your day-to-day. You're looking down, you're reading your phone, you're going to the bank to get some money, you're not being aware of what's going on around you. I think this effort is a great way to educate our community. I thank the press for being here and reporting on it, because there are a lot of bad actors out there. And you saw a bunch of headshots here earlier, but this is not something, this is very organized, it's very targeted, and they're looking at communities like the Woodlands Township to make sure they execute those crimes. Thank God we got men and women in law enforcement leading the effort on this, but it's really, really important that we make sure we get this educational component out because it's not going to stop, and it's continuing. So I thank y'all for reporting on it. I thank everyone here for your service. Our Bulldog District Attorney, we talked about earlier, Brett Ligon, is under the weather, unfortunately, but we're going to have a much shorter speech because his number one in charge is Mike Hawley. He's going to report on the other side of it.
Thank you, Chair. I'm sorry, Mr. Ligon can't be here today. My boss is a fearless person, which usually serves him well, except when it comes to grocery store and convenience store sushi. But if he could be here, he would be here, and he sends his regards. Criminals are cunning. They want to get right to the payoff. The famous criminal Willie Sutton was once allegedly asked, "Why do you rob banks?" And he replied, "Well, because that's where the money is." And that's the essence of bank jugging. Crooks seek out money like a predator goes to a water hole. And this puts good people in danger of losing the money that they worked hard to earn, or it puts them in danger of physical harm. Jugging can make a driveway into a crime scene, and we are not going to have that. It's important to say now that the law enforcement in this county, in Harris County, DPS, every man, every woman has the skill, they have the will, and they have the courage to protect the rest of us from these predators, but they need the right tools. And this new law is that tool. It's the right tool. It does two things. First of all, it makes the stalking itself a crime. So jugging follows a pattern, and the pattern is follow, shadow, snatch. The crooks don't always get to the point of the snatch, but now, if we can catch them in the following and the shadowing, we can arrest them, we can prosecute them. So, a crook follows you from an ATM or a bank, they don't deviate, they're following you in their vehicle, and then they have two or more criminal instruments in their possession. What's a criminal instrument? Well, a window punch, a screwdriver, binoculars, a mask, a gun, even the car itself. If they have those two instruments, then even if they don't take money out of your car, even if they don't take money out of your hand, they've committed a felony, a state jail felony. That is extremely powerful, very effective tool. The second thing it does is this, it enhances penalties. So crooks are cunning and they're callous, but they're also calculating, right? And so we want to introduce something into those calculations. We want to make the cost of doing this particular business so high, they don't do it. That's what we're looking for. So, if somebody's jugging, they follow you, you go in, as was said before, you're taking your kid out of daycare, they take that money out of your car, that is changed from a Class A misdemeanor, now it's a third-degree felony. That's very significant. If you're robbed, and I'm not saying like an aggravated robbery, gun in your face, but somebody pulls something out of your hand and it causes you pain, or they threaten you in a way that you suddenly give up that withdrawal envelope from your purse, that is now a first-degree felony, and that's significant. I'm going to say this again. Law enforcement in this county, in Harris County, law enforcement working for Colonel Martin, every man and woman, they have the skill, they have the will, they have the courage to protect you and I, but they need the right tools. And beginning September 1st, that tool will be in place, that we can arrest and we can prosecute. To that end, I would say Mr. Ligon is committed to fully, to faithfully, and to fiercely prosecuting anybody who commits this offense to keep you as safe as the men and women in uniform can do that for us. Thank you. Bring back Sheriff Doolittle.
Well, I don't know what else to say. They've pretty much said it all. I do believe it is important. I take the approach of informing the public, educating them of problems, and then aggressively enforcing the law. Working with our partner agencies to make sure that we minimize the number of victims in our community, the number of people that have to suffer through these problems before we figure out what's going on. So it's really good to have everybody here talking about this and educating our public. So we need to talk about what you need to do to prevent from being a victim. I think we're doing it today. We're working with our media, we're educating the public. But what I would tell folks is to slow down a little bit, to not worry as much, to not rush through your day. As you're going to these banks and financial institutions, plan your day. Get gas before you go. Don't stop anywhere. Go directly to the place that you intend to go to make that deposit or to spend that money directly from the bank or ATM or financial institution, which will minimize or mitigate the chances of you being victimized. I'll also tell you that being aware of your surroundings, one of these individuals was physically inside of a bank surveilling potential victims, watching them make the withdrawals, following them out of the bank, meeting with their co-conspirators, and executing their crime with precision. We call these robbery crews or crews. They're more or less people working together as co-conspirators and organized criminals. So understanding what we're dealing with as a population is important. Minimizing your chances of being a victim is important. So look at your surroundings. If someone's sitting in a vehicle backed into a parking spot and you're walking out of the bank, that might be a problem. You may turn around and walk right back in the bank where there may be a security officer or a police officer. You may be able to call 911. Let us know that there's a problem so we can get to you quickly. To hide the money that you're withdrawing, maybe in your pocket, in your purse, not walking out with a bank bag or just communicating that you have just made a withdrawal. So these important things can mitigate the chances of you being a victim by just preparing a little bit, not establishing patterns when you withdraw money for your payroll, when you deposit money in the bank that you've collected, thinking about these things and just listening to what we're doing here, reading about this, educating yourself about it, and minimizing your chances of being a victim. I really thank y'all for being here today, for helping us get the word out about this, and I'm looking forward to the future of working with these agencies to help keep our community just a little bit safer. The last thing that I might add to this is if you are a criminal and you're involved in this type of crime, the person you're surveilling may very well be a police officer. They may very well be someone working with us. We're going to catch you. We're on to your scam. We know what's happening, and we're working diligently to mitigate it and keep you safe. Thank y'all very much, and I'll open the floor up for any questions you might have.
Yes, sir.
You mentioned more than 20 individuals arrested in the past, I think, 3 months. Is that when the task force was initiated 3 months ago?
Yes, sir, about the last 3 months. And I'll add to that, most of these individuals are on probation, parole, or have an extensive criminal history. And we're working diligently to identify these guys and get onto them before they commit their crimes, to conduct our surveillance operations, to work across county lines with our partner agencies to ensure that once we identify these guys that are conducting these types of crimes, that we're holding them accountable.
And then you showed us videos with those 2 different undercover operations. Was the goal to send an officer in and to lure a suspect into, trying to do one of these crimes?
One of the things we do in law enforcement is we merely provide criminals an opportunity to commit a crime. They make the decision whether they're going to do it or not, but we would not be doing our job if we weren't conducting undercover operations.
Any other questions? Yes, sir.
Good morning. Are you asking banks to do more to prevent jugging, or such as placing warning signs or reaching out to the community?
Yeah, thank you for asking that question. I meant to talk about that. We are putting together some educational pieces to go meet with our banks in order to educate them about how these things work and what they might do to help us mitigate the problem.
You mentioned avoiding routines and hiding money when exiting banks. Are you planning any targeted community outreach programs?
Well, we're starting right here today. This is part of the educational piece where we inform people of the problem, with y'all's help, get the word out so people can start taking those measures to reduce the chances of them becoming a victim.
If I could just touch
Yeah,
on
go
that
ahead.
one thing real quick is obviously if you're being followed, dial 911, immediate response. But there's so many situations out there where you see something that is suspicious, and maybe they're not following you, but you see somebody that you think is doing surveillance on people coming out of a bank or a business. You've got to report that stuff. We're asking for the public's help. We want to educate the public, the banks, the employees, everybody, to look for suspicious activity and report it. And you don't have to dial 911 to report that. A lot of people you just don't know how to do it. You can Google Texas DPS and report a suspicious activity. We ask everybody to download this I Watch Texas app. You can be anonymous, you can report anything on there, it goes to the Fusion Center. That doesn't mean, you know, you're stepping on another agency's toes. It just goes to DPS, and we send it back to Montgomery County or Harris County or Houston PD or wherever the case may be. So many of these cases, and when you're talking about only 20 arrests, that's just from this task force. There's police officers out there that arrest people every single day, but this law helps us call it what it is, jugging, because a lot of these, they're booked into jail for burglary of a motor vehicle, and it's a misdemeanor because they stole $50. So this helps us increasing those penalties, but it also helps us in collecting the data. I know one here recently was in Cedar Park, Texas. DPS helped Cedar Park PD work that case, but without the assistance of the Houston Police Department, we wouldn't have solved it. It was, these crooks were out of Houston, and they had expanded out to Cedar Park, Texas. But there's so much activity that goes, you see something, you think, that's not right. If you'll report it on that, it could be linked to so many other cases, and we're doing a much better job through the Texas Fusion Center of sharing that information. And everything's connected, but we can't connect the dots until we collect the dots, and that's where the public comes in. That's the main part of this press conference today, is ask people to be vigilant, you know, not just for yourself, just be vigilant of what's going on around you and how to report that to law enforcement. We don't care who you report it to. It's always best to go to your local agency. But if you don't know the local number, non-emergency, whatever, I'll watch Texas, DPS, SAR Network. There's a lot of ways to do that. You can call it in if you don't want to download the app, but just report it to somebody.
Any other questions? All right.
Can we replay those videos in a second?
We're gonna, you wanna see one?
Thank y'all very much.